I want you to answer some questions and, on your own, and it would help you as we journey through this process. Okay, so I always like to start with a few truths about parenting. The truth of the matter is that there is no such thing as perfect parents or perfect families. I honestly believe that God does not even expect perfection from us as far as parenting is concerned. He just wants us to be priority parents. He wants us to be intentional parents. He wants us to be there, to be present in our parenting journey. And I found out that a lot of times parents struggle with two major things that many parents struggle with. The first one is worry. We worry so much about our children. Are they doing the right things? Are they moving with the right friends? Are they eating the right food? Are they doing the right things? And the other one is guilt. There are times that, you just, maybe you've made a decision that didn't quite go well, or didn't quite turn out well for your child. And, you just keep on wallowing in this defeat, in this guilt that, oh, I should have made a better decision, or I should have been there. I could have protected my child from this or that. And, this morning, I just want to speak to that, you just have to let it go. There are no perfect parents. There are no perfect families. We all are work in progress. And there are no expert parents as well. I believe that every parent has the grace for the child that they have. I believe that, you have the grace to parent your child. I have the grace to parent mine. So I can't tell you how to raise your child. I can provide you with resources. I can help you. I can walk along with you on your journey, but the journey is yours. The journey is yours, and the child is yours, and the grace to raise that child, God has given it to you. You just need to, to look inward and see what you have been resourced with to help you raise a child that you will be proud of in the future. And the second truth that I like to share is that parenting is a journey. It's not a destination, and it's definitely not a competition. Everybody's journey is unique. Everybody's journey is unique. The child that God has given to you is unique to you. The personality that you have, the personality that your child has is unique to you, and you should explore that. You should take advantage of that. You should enjoy the journey, because parenting never ends. For those of us who have older kids, you'll find out that it never ends. You will always be the parent. You will always be even if your child is 30, 40 years old. I'm sure many of us, we are in our 40s. Some of us may even be in our 50s. And we still, if our parents are still alive, we still need them, right? We still want them around. So parenting is a journey, and it's a journey that should be enjoyed. It's a journey that should be, we know it's hard work, right? But it's work that we can choose to enjoy. We can choose to enjoy the process. We have options, either to, enjoy the process, or to be worked up and irritated and angry all the time, or just enjoy each day that you have an opportunity to spend with your child, and just be present in the moment and enjoy the moment. Enjoy every opportunity that you have to spend with your child. And the last truth that I like to share before we go into the meat of our discussion today is that you have to do the work. You have to do the work. The child that God has given to you, He has equipped you to raise that child, and you have to do the work. You have to be present. You have to be present. You have to be intentional about how you're raising your children. You have to have a plan. And that's why I said, raising a strong and independent child, it starts with a vision. And the first question that I want to ask you today is that, what is a parent's job? What is, if you had to employ someone, to do what you're doing right now for your children, what would be the job description that you're going to give that person? If you have a pen and paper, I would really like you to put something down. What do you think a parent's job is? And you can put it in the chat. I would love to hear your responses. Like I said, this is going to be an interactive session, right? We will have the questions, the Q&A at the end of it. But right now, I want you to be part of the process as we discuss this topic. So what do you think the job of a parent is? What do you think the job of a parent is? Please put it in the chat. What do you think that job description should look like, as a parent of a child? What do you think that job description should look like? I know many of us have been parents for years, but have you stopped to even think that, what's my job as a parent? What's my job as a parent? I believe that my job as a parent is to guide my children into being responsible, fulfilled morally functioning, independent adults that reach their fullest potential and add value to their communities. These are my priorities as a parent. These are my priorities as a parent. It's important to me that my children are responsible. It's important to me that my children are fulfilled. It's important to me that my children are morally functioning. It's important to me that they are independent adults. And it's important to me that they reach their fullest potential and add value to their communities. I do not want to raise a children that will be takers only. I want to raise children who would add value to their communities. So if you want to share, okay, Chinelo says to raise godly children. Godly children, I like that. So what's your job? What's your job description? So, I shared this, this is my answer. This is my personal answer. And I shared this with you, to just get you thinking, even as we look at this topic today, that what's my job as a parent? What's my job as a parent? What am I supposed to be doing for this child? Because a lot of times we just parent by default. You just do the same things that your parents did for you when you were growing up, or maybe you add a little extra to it. I was discussing with a friend recently, and she was like, a lot of times, especially for us African parents, we're like, oh, I'm not going to be like my parents. My parents were this, they were that, I'm going to be better. But guess what? We end up being exactly like them. And the truth of the matter is that to do more, we have to be more. If you want to see better results with our children, then you can't, if you want your children to be better than you, for instance, then you can't raise them exactly the way you were raised. I don't know if you are familiar with that quote that says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting to see different results. That's not going to happen. If you're going to see more, if you're going to do more, then we have to be more. If we're going to raise children that will be better than us, then we have to raise them in a better way than we were raised. And and that starts with a vision. That starts with a vision. Okay, Bolande says to raise children who would make a difference in their generation. So if you have that at the back of your mind, you know what, my job as a parent is to make sure that these children make a difference in their generation, then that would inform everything you do from the day that child is born, even before that child is born. It would inform all the decisions.
How we can do it.
On behalf of that child. It would determine how you would raise that child. Okay, I think we need to mute someone.
Come here.
Okay, so it will determine how the decisions that we're going to be making on behalf of that child, even before that child is born, because you're clear in your mind what you want to achieve. So the next question that I'm going to ask you is that what does a strong, today we are talking about raising strong and independent children. What does a strong and independent child look like to you? What does a strong, and if I bring this child before you and I say, this is my child and this child is strong and independent, what does that look like to you? If I ask you to write a bio of your child in the next maybe 10, 20 years, what would that bio look like? What would you want to say about your child? How would you want to describe your child in the next 10, 15 or 20 years? I want you to take a moment to think about it. I want you to take a moment to think about it. I want you to write a three sentence bio for your child. If you have more than one child, I want you to write for each child. I'm going to pause for a minute to allow you to do that. If you have a pen, if you don't have a pen and paper, you can use your phone. But I want you to put down 3 sentences describing your child at 25, or describing your child at 30 or at 40. What would you want that child to look like? What would you want that child to look like? And I always like to tell parents as well that we are not raising children, right? We're raising adults. We're raising adults, because that child you're raising is going to be somebody's husband one day. It's going to be somebody's father one day. It's going to be somebody's boss one day. It's going to be somebody's employee one day. Are you raising that child with the end in mind? What's the vision that you have for that child that you're raising? What's your vision for your child? What's your vision for your child? If you had to write a bio of your child, and I want you to please do that. If you want to share it in the chat, please feel free to do that. If not, just put it down in your notes and let it guide you from today. Just write a 3-sentence bio for each child that you have. This is, Folari Adesola, this is, and you just write and write and write and write, what will that child look like in the next 10, 20, 30 years? Even if your child is just a year old today, You know, what vision do you see? What do you want to accomplish as you raise that child? If your child is already maybe 20 or 25, what do you want to see that child still become? Because I always believe, and I believe that very strongly, that it's never too late to do the right thing. Now, I've had parents say to me, and my children are already teenagers, is it not too late? I wish I knew all these things that you're sharing before, you know, when they were little. And I always tell them that, look, it's never too late to do the right thing. It's never too late to start afresh. It's never too late, you know, to give the investment that your children need from you to be everything that God has made them to be. So I believe that we all have been able to write something down. If you've been able to write something down, just put yes in the chat so that I can move on to the next slide. I want us all to be part of this. If you find it a little difficult to write, that's okay. But, you know, after this meeting, please take some time to think about it. Think about the child that you have, or if you have more than one, think about each child. And just what does a strong and independent child, what does that look like? You know, what's the vision that you have for that child? How do you want that child, you know, to be at 25 or at 30 or at 40? So, you know, I'm going to move on from there. If you have questions, please feel free to start dropping them in the chat. And if you were able to write down that vision, you know, just give me a thumbs up in the chat or just say yes in the chat so that I can know that we are all following, because I can't see any faces, you know, I can see Ediri's picture, but I want to be sure that we all are following. So yes, okay, great. Thank you, Amal. Yes, good. No, it's okay, Ediri. I was just saying that, you know, you're the only one that I can see. Yes, okay. So let's look at so if you've written that vision and you're clear that, you know, this is the kind of value added human being that I want to raise. This is the kind of, this is the kind of son that I want to raise. This is the kind of daughter that I want to raise. What are the values that your child needs to have in order to be that person? I want you to write them down. I want you to write them down, you know, if you put them in your phone, put them in the chat. What are the values you think your child will need to have to be able to be that person that you have envisioned them to be? What are the values they need to have? What are the values they need to have? If there is something that is lacking in our society today, it's values, it's values-based leadership. You know, values-based servant leadership. We don't have that in a lot of societies. You know, we don't, even in our organizations, even in our religious organizations, everywhere we see that lack in values. We see people do stuff and you're like, okay, you know, where's that coming from? You know, I don't know about you, but at times you look at people at times and you're like, so, you know, who raised, you know, I always like to share the story of, you know, there was a day in my place of work where you know, the former place where I used to work, and we're all in a meeting, about 10 or 12 of us. I think about 12 of us were in a meeting, and then we had bagels and cream. You know, they served breakfast. We had bagels and cream served. And one of us went to the table, you know, took usually a box of maybe 12 or 13 bagels will come with 2 packs of cream. And this guy went there, took his bagel and finished the cream. As in, that was so funny to everybody, right? It was so funny, but, you know, a lot of us were wondering that, you know, who does this? As in, and in my mind, I was like, this is an adult. Maybe this guy is even in his late 50s or maybe even 60s and can behave like that. As in, 12 people were supposed to share something and when they have finished it. You know, I'm sure you would know people like that, that they would make some decisions or they would behave in a certain way. You're like, what kind of values does this person have? As in, what drives this person? You know, what's even the importance of our values? Our values define us. Our values give us our identity. You know, as a family, when we have values and we know that, you know, love is one of our values in this family. In this family, we love one another unconditionally. You know, that's our values, that's our identity. That's what defines us. That's what defines us. And our values give us stability. Our values make sure that whether you are home or you are out, you behave the same way, with the same level of integrity, with the same level of, you know, whatever values that we've chosen to adopt in this family, everybody behaves the same way. Everybody behaves the same way and everybody behaves consistently. You don't have to worry about what your child does outside when you're not there. Because if they've been raised to live by their values, then whether you are there or not, they will behave the same way. They will behave the same way. And it starts with us as parents. For instance, if one of our values is integrity, then we should live with integrity. We should model integrity to our children and, be the person of integrity that they will know that I know what my mommy can never ever do. I know what my dad can never, no, my dad can never do that. As in they've seen you live out your values, and it challenges them to live out those same values themselves. Because a lot of times for us as parents, a lot of parents worry. A parent was sharing the other time, and she was like, our child is like the sweetest person outside. Everybody loves her. But when she's home, she's a monster. I'm like, okay, so what's the disconnect? What happened? What happened to this child? So she knows how to behave right and she knows how to behave badly, right? What kind of values does this child, what's going on in her heart? What makes her believe that she can be one way somewhere and be one way the other in another place? That goes back to, the values are the foundation. Our values are the foundation of everything. The only way that, Ediri says consideration for others is very important, very, very. The only way that we can be sure that, when your kids go off to college or when they leave home or when you're not there with them, they can still be the consistent, responsible, caring child or adult that you raised, is if you've taught them to live by their values. I'm going to share some of my values with us, some values that I believe every family should have. And the first one is love. I believe that in every family, it should be clear that we love and accept one another unconditionally. In this family, this is one of our values. We love one another, and we are not saying it just by words. Love is, is an action word. Love is an action word, and it starts with the way you love your children. What are some of the ways? I want you to put in the chat. What are some of the ways by which you show love in your family? What are some of the ways by which you show love to your children? I want you to, because it's not enough to say, one of our values is love. In what ways do you live out those values? This is a practical session, right? I always like to be practical. In any session that I do, I always like to give you something you can use immediately, that can help you immediately. So if you're saying love is one of the values of your family, in what ways do you show love? In what ways? What practical things do you do to some people write love notes in the child's lunchbox, or put it on the pillow, or do something, or maybe you have a time when you spend with each child and you just love on them, and don't just say, oh, love is one of our values. In what ways do you live that out? Respect is another value that is very, very important. So, all these things, all these treasures start from home, right? They start from home. So when you show respect, and, a lot of parents, forget that when we're talking about respect, you show respect to your children as well. How do children get to be respectful, to be disrespectful? They would have seen it somewhere. How does a child know that he can hit somebody else with his hand? It's because he's seen somebody else do it. So all of these values, it starts from us as parents, letting them know, and you don't just assume that they know. No, you tell them about it. That one of our values in this home is respect. We respect other people. We respect other people. We respect people even that don't look like us, that don't talk like us, or don't believe the things we believe. We still show them respect. Every human being should be respected. And you live by example as well. You show them how you even respect them, how you show respect to the children, and how you show respect to your spouse, how you show respect to the people that work with you. They can see you model that value, and so it stays with them. It stays with them because children are visual learners. You can talk to them from now till eternity. If you're doing something different or contrary to the things you're saying to them, they're going to be more of who you're showing to them than whatever it is that you're telling them. Standards is another values that I believe every family should have. We should have standards of what is acceptable and what is unacceptable. In this family, this is unacceptable, because what happens a lot of times is that parents, we become reactive. We wait till something goes wrong and start, yelling and shouting. When you can already set the standards. Children work well with structures. When children know that there is a structure, they follow that structure. It gives them security, it gives them predictability, and it reduces anxiety. Forgiveness is another value that I believe every family should have. We forgive one another in this family. We love one another, we accept one another unconditionally, and we forgive. We forgive. Don't take it for granted that your children will know that they should forgive. We forgive. Gratitude is another value that I believe every family should have. You know, a lot of children these days are so entitled, you know, and even adults, entitled adults, that they just feel that, you know, you owe them, this world owes them, and they just find it hard to show gratitude. I don't know if it has happened to you, but have you ever done something for someone and the person just doesn't even, you know, doesn't even appreciate it? Maybe they think you should have done more, or, you know, it's something that it's a foundational issue. So, you know, for us as parents, we need to teach our children gratitude. We need to teach them to appreciate whatever it is that God gives to them, or anybody gives to them, or anybody does for them. They need to be, we have to be intentional about that. Connection is another value that every family should have. Connection, self-worth, servant leadership. I'm trying to run through now so that I don't, you know, overshoot my time. Compassion, which is very, very key. There are times that you just need to let your children know that, look, there are some people out there that, you know, don't have it as good as we do. Because a lot of times children don't get to know that. We need to let them know to show compassion. We need to let them know to show compassion, you know, and it's going to benefit you also in the future, because I've seen a lot of situations, where children, you know, they just don't care. You know, they've been raised to only think about themselves. They don't care about other people. You know, someone was sharing an experience where, you know, this parent had sent her children to college, you know, paid for college. He didn't even, you know, let him get a student loan, paid for college and all that. And then I think one of their cousins needed help. And she was telling her son, why don't you help your cousin? And he was like, why should I help? You know, and she was trying to explain to him that, yeah, but, you know, you've been helped. You don't have any student loan. You don't have anything. You know, you can do something for someone else. And he was like, well, that, and they were trying to tell that we paid for your college and all that, as in just do something good for someone else. Well, like you didn't have to. If you didn't pay for college, I would have gotten a student loan, and, you know, why should I have to, you know, give my hard-earned money to someone else? And I was like, okay, maybe that was already too late to start telling this child that he needs to show compassion. From when they are little, we need to, all these values, because imbibing all of these values is what would eventually turn them into strong and responsible children. Responsibility, giving them responsibility, letting them know. You know, I've had a lot of arguments about parents paying kids to do chores at home. My personal opinion, very personal, you know, you can have a different opinion, is no. Whatever chores they are doing at home is their contribution to the community, which is our family. As a member of this family, this is my part to play. This is what I do to contribute, to be a value, to add value to this family. So nobody's getting paid to do any household chores, you know. So teaching them responsibility, teaching them to take responsibility even for their actions. You know, I'm going to be talking about some parenting styles, and, you know, as I do, I want you to just think about how you currently, you know, raise your children, and, you know, what's working for you, what's not working. If something is working for you, keep doing it. If it's not working, you may need to consider, you know, trying a different approach that would help you achieve that goal of raising strong and responsible adults, raising strong and responsible adults that will be value added to their communities in the future. So, you know, these are some of my values, my top 10 values that I believe every family should have. You know, you can look at it if you feel that it works, you know, with whatever vision that you have for your children, then you will need to start having family conversations around these values. We need to start reminding ourselves that this is our identity as a family. In this family, we love unconditionally. In this family, we forgive. In this family, we are grateful people. In this family, we show compassion. In this family, we take responsibility. We take responsibility wherever we find ourselves. What am I supposed to be doing? And you take responsibility. And we take responsibility for our actions. I'm sure you know some adults who can never ever take responsibility. They will just blame somebody else, or, you know, just deny it, or just not take responsibility. And you're wondering that, who raised this person, as in how, you know, how do you think that this is right? But the truth of the matter is that we can't parent by default. You can't just assume that they will get it. We have to be intentional about letting them know what their values should be and what we expect from them. So when you've written, if you were able to write down that vision that I talked about, earlier, after this meeting, call your children and share with them. Share it with them. The Bible says, write the vision, make it plain, so that those who read it can run with it. Don't just keep it in your mind that this is your idea of how your child should look like as an adult. Share it with them. And then let them know that, look, to be able to achieve this, these are the values you need to start to imbibe. These are the values that you need to start to live by, and you can be sure if you're able to do that, that even when you're not with them, if they've been able to accept those values, and we are not forcing it on them, we are not coercing them, we are not shouting them down, but we're telling them that, look, this is what we expect from you. And this is the values, these are the values that you need to start to imbibe, that every one of us in this family, will live by, to make sure that we become what we want to be and we get to our destinations. So I'm going to be looking at different parenting styles. And, for those of us that are not very familiar, parenting styles just means, your common pattern of behavior as a parent. What the style that you have chosen to use to raise your child, this the way you have chosen to relate with your child. And for some of us, we fall into different categories. I'm going to talk about just 4 different parenting styles. And as I share, I want you to just put down in your paper what parenting style you think you're currently using. If you are not very conscious of it, what's the pattern that you employ as you're raising your child? What informs the way you make decisions on behalf of your child? And different things can influence our parenting styles, our background. A lot of us raise our children the way we were raised, whether we like it or not, and whether you agreed with that style or not. But the truth of the matter is that by default, if you are not intentional, by default, you're definitely going to raise your child the way you were raised. You will shout the way your mom or your dad shouted. You will do the things they did. And for us as parents, especially in this generation, we want to give more to our children. We want to do better than our parents. A lot of us, we want to give our children the things that we didn't have an opportunity, to have. And in doing that, if you're not careful, a lot of times we can get distracted. In trying to give them what you didn't have, a lot of times we only look at that in terms of material things, but a lot of times we forget to give them all the things we had, the values, the discipline, that we had. Let's not forget to also give them that. In as much as you're trying to give them all the things you did not get, don't forget to give them the things you got as well. The values-based, way that you were raised. Those are very, very important. So your background can affect your parenting style. How you yourself were raised can affect the way you raise your children as well. Then your knowledge, what you know or what you don't know, your experience. Some of us get influenced by experiences of other people as well. Some of us just do what we see other parents doing. And, here in America, I'm sure in Nigeria, it applies as well. A lot of children play different games. Some play basketball, soccer, baseball, and all that. And you find out that a lot of times parents just, go ahead, putting their kids into different activities and all that, not because they have a plan or they are being intentional, but that's just what everybody is doing. Some don't even know why they are doing it. They don't even know, if it's good for their child or not. They just keep on doing it because everybody is doing it. So, you need to ask yourself, if this is my style, this is how I've chosen to raise my child, what may be informing that decision, and if you had better knowledge, if you had more information, could that help you to make better decisions or to change your parenting style? So the first one that I'm going to talk about is the permissive parents. This is the caring and nurturing parent. So it has its good parts, but this particular parenting style is characterized by low demands with high responsiveness. Like if before your child asks for A, you've given them A, B, and C. But then you're not demanding any form of discipline. You're not demanding you're not putting any limits. You're not putting any guidelines, no rules, no limits on what they can do. I've heard some parents tell me, I'm just liberal. I just give my child everything they want. That's it's good to give your child, what they want. But something that is also very good is how to teach your child to accept no. No is a complete sentence. And, you know, teaching a child to be balanced, to know that, you know what, in this life, you're not always going to get everything that you want. But a lot of times, the permissive parents, they are the fearful parents. They don't want to get in their kids' black books, right? They don't want to disappoint their kids. They don't want their kids to be angry with them or to be upset. They just want them to be happy all the time. They want them to be happy all the time, you know, and, you know, they want to be more of a friend, you know, than a parent. It's good to be your child's friend. I'm always for that. But you are first the parent. You are the one that would provide the guidelines. You are the one that will provide the rules. You are the one that has to be firm and, you know, have to be affirmative. You are the one that has to put your foot down and say, no, you're not going to do that. No, you're not going to have that. Because what happens a lot of times is that we wait until it's too late. You know, I don't know about you, but there are times that maybe your child is doing something wrong at home and you just ignore it. Some of us, you'd say, oh, he's just 2 years old, or oh, he's just 5 years old. And you just, but you know what he's doing is bad, but you ignore it. And then you take this child outside and he does it outside and you're not trying to correct him. No, don't do that. You know, Junior, stop it. Don't hit your brother. Don't bite that person. But this child has been doing this thing. You ignored it. You did not do anything about it. When you're not in public, when, you know, you're feeling a little embarrassed, that's not the place to correct that action. You know, that's not the place to now start shouting and screaming. These are things that we could have done, you know, immediately you see it happening. Because let me tell you something, you know, for us as parents, a lot of times we get so concerned with the behavior. You don't want this child to embarrass you. You just want them to be good. And a lot of times we forget the heart. I gave you an example of the girl that is so nice outside and she's a monster at home. It's a heart problem. There's something going on in that child's heart. There's something she believes that makes her think she can be one way somewhere and be another way in another place. And that's where we as parents, we need to get to the root of it. We need to get to the root of it. So, you know, for us as parents, the permissive parent is the one that is reluctant to punish, reluctant to impose limits. You just want to give your child everything that they want. You are hesitant to discipline them. You know, you see them doing the wrong things, you say nothing about it. You see that, you know, because the truth of the matter is that every child, like every human being, has their strengths. And every human being has their weaknesses, including your children. You know, earlier we talked about what's the role of the parent. One thing that I know is not the role of a parent is to give excuses on behalf of your child. You know, I see that happen all the time. You can see that this child is doing the wrong thing and you're just like, no, it's not like that. Oh, and you just keep on denying. The truth of the matter is that every child has their weaknesses. Just like you as an adult, you have your weaknesses. I have my weaknesses. And you know, the weakness you don't deal with is going to eventually deal with you. That's just the truth. So, you know, your child has its weaknesses, and your role, your nurturing role as a parent is to help them, you know, identify those and begin to put practical steps in place to address them, to help them overcome them, not to be in denial, not to be like, you know, just them giving them everything they want without providing guidelines. Children thrive with structure. They become anxious when there is no structure. They don't know what to expect. Everybody just does whatever they like. And then when you have this kind of, you use this kind of style, you're likely going to raise entitled kids. I just feel that the world owes them. They have to get everything they want at every point in time or the other. You know, I had an interesting conversation with a child psychologist a while back. You know, then we had a son who would just cry and cry and cry over everything. And it was really getting to me that, what is it? Crying cannot be the only response that this child knows to every situation. Just start crying and rolling on the floor. I know he asked me a very, very important question. And he said, Ife, what life skill do you want this child to have? It was at that point that I realized that, you know, I was just focused on the behavior. What am I trying to achieve? I want a child who can handle disappointment, right? I want a child who can handle no, and not just throw tantrums every time he hears no. And so that changed my mindset and helped me to be, you know, to be more proactive and be more intentional in the way I was doing, and to let him know every time that you cannot. This life was not designed that way. You cannot always have what you want. You know, you have to learn to say no. You have to learn to say no, and you have to learn to accept no, and know that no is a complete sentence. No is a complete sentence. And, you know, as parents, it's our responsibility to be that way. So, you know, permissive parents are fearful parents. They do not want their child, to be disappointed, and, they just want to please their child all the time. They just want to please. A lot of times, parents like this find their identity in those children. They find their identity in those children, and that's not, exactly how we should parent our children. That's too dangerous, for us to raise our children that way. And so I'll go to the next type of parent. That's the neglectful parents. I know if you're here, you are likely not this kind of parent, because you're here to learn. The neglectful parent is the one that really expresses love to their children. They fail to discipline them out of carelessness, right? The difference between the neglectful parent and the permissive parent is that the permissive parent is there, right? Is nurturing and caring, but just don't know where to stop, and don't know how to instill discipline and help the child be a responsible, adult. So, for the neglectful parent, he's just not there. Maybe due to work, or due to health issues, or due to whatever, they're just not there. So, children raised in this kind of environment, they don't have a relationship with their parents. They don't have a relationship with their parents. I was on a panel a while back, and one of the parents asked the question. I said, my child is in college now. He only calls me when he needs something. And this is a concerned parent. He only calls me when he needs something. And I'm like, you know what? This is coming from somewhere. When they were younger, how were they raised? Was the relationship just about giving them stuff? Because if that was it, then why do you want to change that now? Right? If they just saw you when you gave them stuff, and that was it. No conversations, nothing, no relationship. So, children of neglectful parents like practically raise themselves. They whatever it is that they learned it by themselves. There is no relationship, there is no impact in the life of that child. And a lot of times, children like this can be very, very scarred in the future, if care is not taken. So, a lot of times we don't want this for our kids, right? We want to have a relationship with them. And it's so easy, even in the way we relate with them. Many of us as parents, a lot of our children complain that we don't listen. The child say, "Mommy, I want to talk to you." You're like, "Come back later." Or you're like, "Oh, okay, I'm listening," but you're on your phone, you're on the computer. I always tell parents, when your child comes to you and says, "Mommy, I want to talk to you," "Daddy, I want to talk to you," the physical action of you even dropping your phone, turning away from the computer or the TV and saying, "I want to hear what you have to say. It's important to me." I do that intentionally with my children. I have one of my sons, he can say that in me, several times. The "Mommy, can I tell you something?" And I do it intentionally, even when I don't feel like it. I brighten up my eyes immediately and say, "Yes, tell me. I want to hear it. Whatever it is you want to say to me, I want to hear it." So, being a neglectful parent at times does not even mean only the physical absence, but the emotional absence. The emotional absence. There is no connection. You're just always so busy. And they can see that other things are more important than whatever it is they have to say to you, or whatever relationship they want to build with you. So, my prayer is that there is no neglectful parents in this place today. So neglectful parents are forsaken parents, and that's not what we want to be. That's not what we want to. So the next time you feel like falling into that trap, remind yourself that no, your kids deserve better. Your kids deserve better, and you are going to give them all the attention. When you're present, you're present. You're not present, and there is no connection in your heart. You're thinking about maybe business, or thinking about ministry, or thinking about any other thing. You let them know that, look, the time I spend with you, it's very important to me. I want to hear what you have to say, and you provide guidance. So many children in this world today, they are not being raised. They are just developing by default. Nobody's raising them. Nobody's raising them. And that word raise, it means to lift up, right? To lift up, to nurture. That's our responsibility as our parents to when you're nurturing something, you're taking care of it. When you see a weed, when you're nurturing a plant, for instance, you see a weed coming up, this weed can choke this plant, you pluck it off. You are consistent, and you're working. That's our responsibility to our children. You're there and you're working, you're doing your job as a parent. And then the next one is the authoritarian parents. Authoritarian parents are fighting parents. I like this quote by Anne Bradstreet that says, "Authority without wisdom is like a heavy axe without an edge, fitter to bruise than polish." As parents, we are here to polish our children, not bruise them. The authoritative parent is the one that is always angry and shouting and fighting. You know, the one that provokes their children to anger, the one that, you know, the children are just waiting to turn 18 and leave your house. You know, you give instructions without explanation. You're big on discipline, but lacking in affection. You know, it's the carrot and the stick, right? There should be a balance. Discipline without mercy, without justice, without compassion can prompt children to rebel. And that's the truth. When everything is just about, it's either your way or the highway. No explanations. You know, you're giving instruction, everybody should just be following it. And, you know, many of us were raised with that authoritative style. You couldn't ask questions. You could not reason with anybody. The tension is high every day. And, you know, the rules are rigid. No consideration. This is what I want. Just do it. Don't ask me questions. You know, I know that, you know, you're like, but is that not how we should be as parents? That's a very, very good question. And I'm going to answer is when I show you the next slide, you know, which talks about the authoritative parents. The authoritative parents are fellowshipping parents. I like this quote that says, diverse children have their different natures. Some are like flesh, which nothing but salt will keep from putrefaction. Some, again, tender fruits that are best preserved with sugar. Those parents are wise that can fit their nurture according to their nature. Your child has their own unique personality, and that's the truth. I don't know if I'll have enough time, but I may not get into the different personality types. But your child has their unique personality, and there's a way you relate with each child according to their personality. So the authoritative parent is the one who guides using a good balance of discipline and love, unique to each child. Unique to each child. You know, when we had our first son, we had our second son 16 months after. So, you know, when we had our first son, you know, and then we had the second one, I thought, you know, I had the templates. Let me just roll out the templates. But guess what? Nothing, nothing worked. Nothing that I did with our first son worked. He was just different. In fact, they look so different. They behave differently. They like different things. They eat different. They like different things. Have different things they like to work. They are just unique, different personalities. So you can't insist that, you know, what you do for A is what you will do for B. The wise parent is the one that can fit their nurture according to their nature, that can understand that this is the kind of personality that this child has. You know, I had to coach a parent recently. She had two teenagers, right? A boy and a girl. And she was like, the boy, he's so nice. He's so, you know, this, he's so that. When I need help, he's there to help me. The girl, she's always in her room. She doesn't talk to me. Am I losing this? She was going hysterical. So I was like, you know what? Let's start with a personality assessment for these two children. You know, so, you know, I have this youth exploratory assessment, and I had different sessions, individual sessions with the two kids, and then I had a debrief session with the parents, and you know, and she just kept saying the boy, and I was like, you know what, these children have different personalities. You know, your best way to crush these children is to be comparing them. You can't compare them. For instance, the boy was an I. You know, I used the DISC assessment, DISC. The boy was an I. The I are inspiring. They love to be with people. That's how they recharge, by being with people. They love to, you know, to talk, to influence people and all that. The girl was an S. The S personality, they recharge by sleeping. They recharge by being on their own. You know, they are the ones that are that you know, that love to serve, that love to help people. They are the overthinkers that can, you know, overthink things. They, you know, still remembering something that happened in first grade. Meanwhile, she's in college. You know, that won't let things go. So you have to understand that these kids are different. You can't compare them, and you can't nurture them in exactly the same way. What works for A may not work for B. So the authoritative parent is the one that can guide using a good balance of discipline and love. Discipline and love. And this parenting style is affectionate but firm. You know, you lovingly say no. You don't have to scream about it. You don't have to shout about it. You lovingly say no. You lovingly say no, because children who have this kind of parents usually have good self-esteem, and they can navigate an increasingly crazy world with stability, because they've learned to find but they know that even, I tell my children when maybe they do some, one of the first things that they learned is that their choices have consequences. Maybe that's one of the biggest English words that they had to make, consequences. When you have two options. You can behave or misbehave. When you make your choice will come with consequences. And, you know, my son did something one day and I was like, okay, this is what is going to happen, you know, because of what you did. And she was like, he came to me afterwards and said, Mommy, can you forgive me? I said, I've forgiven you. I've forgiven you. It's not a matter of forgiveness. I've forgiven you, but this is the consequence of what you did. You know, so they know that I love them. They know that I hug them, even after they've done something wrong. You know, I tell them I still love you, but this is the consequence of your action. This is where you go, because that is going to help them. I don't want an adult that will be throwing tantrums in the boardroom in the future. I don't want an adult that would be mistreating the people, a boss that will be mistreating his employees in the future. I don't want, you know, a pastor that will be a hypocrite in the future. No. So, you know, when you think about it in terms of the future, what are you looking at? What do you want this child? What kind of adult do you want this child to be? Then you have to learn how to strike that perfect balance between love, benevolence, justice, and mercy. I love you. How do you feel when your child upsets you? Now, I was asking, you know, two of my friends recently, you know, our son did something and she was like, she's just so disappointed after all the things I've been teaching this boy and all that. So I'm like, okay, so how do you get past that? You know, how do you show grace? How do you show mercy? You know, when you're still loving your child and you're making sure that you're not getting distracted by their actions. You can't afford to get distracted. Children will misbehave. They will make the wrong choices. They will do the wrong things, but don't let that distract you. Don't let that shift your focus from the vision that you have for that child. I know you're misbehaving right now. You are making the wrong choices, but guess what? This is the vision. This is the kind of adult you're going to grow up to. So I know you're going to start making the right choices. You're going to start doing the right things. And I'm going to stand right by you, and I'm going to keep on guiding you. I'm going to keep on guiding you. I'm going to keep on guiding you until you get to your desired destination. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to say the wrong things to you. I'm not going to give up on you. And I'm not going to let your actions distract me from the vision that I have, that you are going to grow up to be a strong and responsible adult. You're going to be a strong and responsible adult. So, you know, the last thing I'm going to talk about here is overparenting. Overparenting is usually based on fear, anxiety. Just like I said earlier, you want them to have everything you didn't have. And it could result in unrealistic expectations, either too high or too low. Too high expectation, you want your child to play keyboard, play saxophone, be a ballet dancer, do as in you just want this child to be everything you didn't get to be, or everything you just feel that this child should be, or you're just like, she's just 10 years old, she can't do anything. You know, I've had adults say to me, I recently had a session with teenagers, you know, and sometimes you win, sometimes you know, just helping them to learn how to handle failure and how to, you know, turn their losses into wins. And you know, one of the parents before the program started, she was like, I need my son to be there. These children, they don't know anything. And these are adult children, like young adults. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, so we get to that point where you're saying, and this, I've heard that happen more than maybe like twice. You know, like parents will tell me, these children, they don't know anything. I'm like, how come they don't know anything? You know, so at times that perception may not be right. Maybe you're just not allowing them. You know, over parenting is when there's excessive protection. You don't want them to make mistakes. You don't want them, you're just protecting them. You don't want them to make their own choices. You want to do everything for them. You don't want them to have consequences. You don't want them to face the consequences of their actions. You can't do that to a child. You can't do that to a child. A child needs to know that actions have consequences. I know all of this requires consistency on our part as parents. You know, a parent asked me one day and she said, you know, my children, they don't take me serious. Even so I have to be shouting and all that. And I said, okay, so when they do something, you know, because some children can be very daring. When you want to do that thing and you let him know that, look, if you go there, you're not going to have your phone for 2 weeks. And then he goes ahead and he does it. And then you don't do anything. The next time you say that, he's not going to take you serious. That's the truth. Children, they will always try to push boundaries. That's why we are their parents. That's why we have to maintain those boundaries. Remember that one of the values that I shared with you, one of those 10 values is standards. Children thrive where there's structure. where there is structure. They know that, look, this, if you do this, this is what will happen to you. And it's consistent. And they know you love them. You're doing it out of love. You're having conversations. When you're giving them rules, you're telling them why we do it. You know, because they'll ask you, Mommy, why do we have to pray, for instance? And I'm telling them, okay, this is why we pray. Don't say, don't ask me that question. Just pray. Just no, because what will happen is that boy is going to turn 18, he's going to get out of that house and he's going to stop praying. He's going to do everything to rebel against them, to drop everything that you imposed on him. So when they ask, why do we have to pray? Don't get angry. How can you ask that question? Don't ask me that question. Don't just pray. No, this is why we pray. This is why we pray. Trust me, there are times when children ask me questions, I'm like, my first reaction would be like, what nonsense? Or what effort about? Like, no, I'm going to explain to you this. And if I don't know the answer, I'll tell you I don't know the answer. But guess what? I will find out and I will let you know. So, you know, the authoritative parent is the fellowshipping parent. Is the fellowship, is the parent that has conversations, you know, that knows how to build relationships with their children. And the earlier, the better. And if your child is already an adult, it's never too late. It's never too late. We can go back and retrace our steps and start doing the right things. So, you know, the person who overparents is the person who tries to micromanage their child's life. Tries to micromanage their child's life and, you know, tries to control everything. You know, try to protect them from growing up into an adult, into a full, you know, adult that they're supposed to do. And then overparenting can also prevent your child from experiencing a rich and full adult childhood that will prepare them to become a responsible adult. Because if you're not allowing them make decisions, you're not allowing them make choices, you're not allowing them, you know, explore new opportunities. It's just what you want, you know, and that's it. You just don't want them to, they are not using their brains, they are not using their minds, they are not engaged. They just do whatever you tell them to do. You know, that's not going to help them become strong and responsible adults. We need to allow them to understand, you know, the consequences of their actions and to learn how to make choices. There was a book that I took my children through. You know, that book says, what would Danny do? So it will tell you a story, and then Danny has two choices. So at the end of each choice, they will tell you what happened to Danny when he made that choice. So, you know, that book, I used it to really help them a lot to understand that, look, there's always a choice. When they're going to school, I tell them today, you will have that voice in your head that will say, do the wrong thing, and the other voice that will say, do the right thing. What do you say to that other voice? What do you say to the good voice? It's your choice. It's your choice. You always have to make the right choices, because that is what will guide them when you're not there, to be able to still make the right choices, you know, and because even if you're overparenting, you cannot be with them all the time. So you just have to know where to stop. So, you know, I've talked about these different parenting styles. So I want you to just put down on your paper, what do you think your parenting style is? Or maybe you have a mix of one or two, you know. I want you to put it down. I want you to just think about it for a few minutes or a few seconds and just, you know, think about it. And, you know, as I rush through, I think I'm almost, Ediri, how many more minutes? I think I'm even out of my time. How many more minutes? Do I still have time?
No, please go ahead.
Okay, all right. Yes. Okay, thank you. So, you know, whatever parenting style that you've discovered that you're currently using, my question to you is that, is it working for you? Is it delivering the required results? Is it helping you raise a strong and responsible adult? Is that child that you're raising with that parenting style, is it going to grow up one day to make you proud, to make the community proud, to be a value added to its community? And if not, then which one are you going to start to adopt? Which one are you going to start to adopt? And then this critical question is, what happens, maybe you and your spouse, you have different styles. You know, you have different styles. One thing that I would say is that, you know, for us as parents, we have to always be on the same page. Children are very smart. They know when you guys are not on the same page. They know when their parents, you know, one of our friends was telling us recently that I think he was having an argument with his wife, and their 10-year-old son just came and said, you know what, you guys need to get your act together. What's wrong with you? So, you know, they know when there's a loophole, they know when there's a gap, and trust me, they will exploit it. When they know that, oh, go and ask mommy. go and ask mommy. A lot of times when my kids come to me and they ask me for something, I ask them, did you ask your daddy first? If they said yes, okay, so what did your daddy say? And they said, oh, he said no. I tell them, that's my answer as well. My response cannot be different. My answer is also no. And guess what? There are times that my answer would have been yes, maybe if they came to me first, right? But because my husband already said no, I'm not going to contradict that. I'm going to stay on. I can now go back to my husband when they are not there and say, you know what, and let's reason out together. If you want to change our minds, then we do it together. And it's okay, we have both agreed that this is what we're going to do. This is our answer to this. So, a lot of times we just have to be careful because, like I said, children need stability. They need stability. They don't need that chaos of, the good cop versus the bad cop, right? Mommy is nice. Is daddy that I don't like my daddy? It's my mommy that I like. No, we have to be on the same page, even if, you're co-parenting with an ex-spouse, or maybe you're a single parent, but, there's a father or a mother figure that you're co-parenting with. In the interest of the child, if you really love this child and want the best for the child, in the interest of the child, as far as parenting that child is concerned, do your best, do your very best, to be at peace with your co-parent. Do your best to reason things out together. It may be tough, but it's something that you just have to keep on working at. You have to keep on working at. You don't want, a situation, it's funny, there were some times, they stopped doing it after a while, because my children will come, maybe I bought something, and they'll say, who bought it? Did mommy buy it or did I? And I'll say, both of us. Because I've seen grown adults tell me that my mother never gave me anything. I'm like, how is that possible? But they're holding it against, oh, my daddy never gave me anything or anything. I was always my mommy. So even if I'm the one who bought it or my husband bought it, I say that we're married, right? We both gave this to you. So you say thank you to both of us. You don't want a situation where we're pitching one parent against the other. It's not good for the child. We're raising strong and responsible children, and we want to model the right structure for them. We want to model the right things for them. So if you're having maybe a difficult spouse or a difficult co-parent, I think it's something that you may need further, help with that, or maybe coaching or counseling, but just to make sure that you are on the same page. Don't let your children see that crack between the two of you and know, oh, okay, if you want to exploit, they will exploit it. They will exploit it. That's the truth. But you want to give them structure and stability. So, I was talking about understanding your child's personality earlier. I'm not going to go into details because of time, but, children have different personalities. Some children, they are the high Ds that, they are the high energy. When they in any place, they take charge. They are like born leaders. They like to be in control. They like to be in charge. One downside of their personality is also their need for approval. They want, when they say come, they want you to follow them, and they need so as a parent, if you have that kind of a child, you need to help them balance, that desperate need for approval. You need to help them balance it. I had because children with high D personality, a lot of times they think only about themselves, and that's just the truth. They just want to shine, they want to lead, they want to be in control. And you can help them as a parent to start to teach them to think about other people, to value other people, to put other people first. I was doing a debrief coaching session with a parent, the mother and the dad, and their son, their teenage son. He's a high D, and was telling me that even when he's playing basketball, he doesn't give the other boys the ball. He just holds on to it. You may, as a parent, you may see that kind of thing, and you're just like, he's playing, he's okay. No, but that's a heart issue. When I see that kind of thing, I'm like, what's the heart behind that? What's the heart behind that? So, for us as parents, don't let's just be too concerned about the physical, actions of our children. Let's look behind why does he think that is right? Why does he think that way? Because as a man thinks in his heart, so he is. So there must be something he believes that makes him think that he can do that. So that's what you want to get at as a parent. For the I personality type, that's the inspiring type. children that love to talk. They just love to provide answers. They love to inspire people. They are the kind of kids that they are the life of the party. You know, they go somewhere, before you know it's 5 other children are around them. That's a good personality. But they have their downsides too, which could be, you know, them not being able to keep their promises. They are the ones that will be late to every event. You know, they are the ones that will procrastinate. They won't submit the assignment until the day it's due. They won't, you know, they just like to play all the time. They like to play all the time. So if you have a child like that, instead of getting frustrated, you can help them, you know, okay, why don't we put a calendar in your room? That's something that I did with one of the, you know, the teenagers and their parents that I could. That why don't you just put a schedule, a calendar in his room and let him know what is due every day. Help him instead of getting frustrated and shouting and screaming and, you know, being miserable. There are solutions. Just understand this is this child's personality. He has his strengths, he has his weaknesses. How can I help him? Our job as parents is to nurture. For the S personality, they love to serve. You know, they can be very pessimistic. They would be the ones to see the errors in everything. You know, 10 people may have read a letter. When an IS personality picks up that letter, that's when you say, oh no, that's a wrong, Emmanuel's name was spelled wrongly. They will see, you know, and the downside of that is the tendency to become more, you know, to always focus on the negative, to be overthinkers, you know, and not letting things go easily. So you have a child like that, because I hear a lot of parents say, my child, she doesn't talk to me. She doesn't, if she is an S personality, most likely she won't talk to you. You have to be the one to help them, you know, bring them out. So instead of getting frustrated, you have to talk. You are not talking to me. You're always in your room and you are getting angry and getting overworked up. When you understand that that's the child's personality, you will know how to manage it. And then the C is the compliance. They just want everything done properly. The I's dotted, the T's crossed. You know, they don't want any surprises, no disappointments. You know, they can be very intolerant of other people's weaknesses, especially when they've had, you know, people that are not maybe necessarily as smart as them, or, you know, as detailed. They are the detail-oriented people and all that. And then, you know, those kind of people also, they thrive when they are by themselves. So if you have a child like that, instead of getting frustrated, you know, you just have to understand that this is the nature of this child. How can I bring him out? How can I help him, you know, to be more, you know, to talk more, to say what's in their mind, you know, and, you know, to say things exactly the way it is. For the S personality, for instance, an S personality is someone that loves to please. So, you know, the S personality is the kind of person that you ask her, how does this dress look? And they say, oh, it's nice. And it's not nice, right? But they don't want to upset you. So, you know, one of the ways you can help an S personality is to encourage them to say their minds, you know, to say what they want to say so that they will not be misunderstood. Okay, so most importantly, like I've said, children are visual learners. If you want to raise a strong and responsible child, then you have to be a strong and responsible parent. And that's the truth. I like this quote by John Maxwell that says, you teach what you know, but you reproduce who you are. You teach what you know, but you reproduce who you are. Children become what children see. So, you know, the question I'm going to ask you is, in whose image is your child being formed right now? In whose image is your child being formed? Have you neglected them to the TV characters? You know, are they watching you? Are you leading by example? Are you doing the right things in front of them? You know, it's interesting, in my children's school, the turning into the school, they already put it there that no turning, right? You have to drive down maybe like 30 seconds and then, you know, go and turn in the right place and then come in. But I see parents turn in that wrong place every morning, every afternoon. And in my mind, I'm like, who does this? Who misbehaves in front of his child every day like this? As in, this does not make sense. You know, so, and you see that happen a lot of times. You see that happen. That's why for you as a parent, you understand what your weaknesses are and deal with them. So, you know, so you are not passing the same, you know, weaknesses over to you're not passing the same bad behavior over to your kids, you know. And then from everything that we have learned today, we need to make a decision. What are you going to do about it? If your child is not being formed in the right image, what are you going to do about it? So I'm going to pause for 30 seconds and I want you to put an action item down on your paper, on your phone. What are you going to do? What is the next thing that you're going to do right now to get you on the track that you want to be, to help you be everything that you want to be as a parent. So I'm just going to round up by just sharing that, you know, like Ediri said in my introduction, I'm a certified parenting and family coach with the John Maxwell team, and, you know, different resources available on my website. You can follow me on Instagram. I try to share resources all the time. Parents Lounge _ Adesola. My Facebook page is Parents Lounge with Adesola. I have a breakthrough parenting course, which is like a 5-week mastermind. We have 3 different courses: Equip Me, Empower Me, Expand Me, depending on the needs that you have in your parenting journey. And I will be excited, you know, to answer your questions right now. And you know, if you need any more support in the future, you can always be free to reach out to me. Okay, so Ediri, I'm going to hand it over to you right now. I think I missed some chats. Yes, okay, just responses with, oh yeah, all right. So let me hand it over to you. Okay, Ediri, I'm not sure I can. I think you're muted. Yeah. Okay, so do we have any questions? Any questions, any contributions? Okay. Thank you, Wumzi. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I'm trying to catch up with the chat to see if there are any questions. Thank you. Christabel says teaching them to take steps gradually. Yes, because I find that most young children, especially from my country, are not proud of starting small. Yes, we model that to them as well, which is why I think Nigeria is full of fraudulent adults, especially with the government. In Canada, most young teenagers are very proud of being able to take little steps, even as small as working as cashier or any little starting point they find that is genuine true. Eni Fome, I hope I call that correctly. Say it's very important we give our kids all the things we didn't have. We should ensure we give them the good values we were raised by. Yes. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Do we have any questions? I'm not sure if Ediri is still here. Yeah. Okay, Amal says I'm here to find out what motivates my son.
Hello,
yes.
Miss.
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
Hello, ma.
Yes, please go ahead. Okay, I think there's a connection.
Thank you for your super. Thanks so much, ma. Thanks so much. Ma, I want to ask you a question. Can I go ahead or should I type it?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. I have 3 boys, 3 children.
Okay.
Okay, they've been telling me for over 2 years now. Majority of their classmates on weekends and as in during the week when they close early, most of their friends will go for swimming lessons or class. They've been going for that for like 2 years or over 2 years now. And they've been telling me and their dad that mommy, daddy want to go for swimming lessons too and music and for music lessons too. But we've been telling them that we would allow them to do it later, that we cannot afford it now. Because it's kind of, it's not done in school. They go for different lessons in different parts of where we stay, here in Kwara State. So my question is that, as in, we're not allowing, not that we don't want to allow them to, we're not making them get involved in such extracurricular activities. Can it give them a kind, as in, what's it called? Can it affect their self-esteem in the near or far future? Because it's competition. Hello, Ma, can you hear me?
I can hear you here. The line is breaking in and out, but if I heard you correctly, you said, can it affect their self-esteem in the future?
Yes, because their friends talking about it every now and then. Maybe they're on break or As whenever they have, as in get into conversations with their friends, they bring up, oh, I can swim. I went for a swimming competition in Lagos. This is and so and so during the, as in the last competition we went for so and so. As in they do a lot of things, but they are not involved in any of them.
Okay, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. You know, and building a healthy self-esteem for a child is one of
them. My first son is just a small way to register them for. Hello, ma.
Sorry, the line is breaking. Do you want to type your question? The line is breaking in and out here.
Okay, but I think I'm done.
Okay. So, you know, the question is, would it affect their self-esteem if, you know, they are not getting what their friends are getting, right? They are not getting to go for the swimming classes and all that, and their friends are doing all that.
Let me allow you to answer the ones I've asked first, ma.
Okay, all right. So what I would say to you is that, you know, when it comes to building a healthy self-esteem for a child, it starts with us as the parents. When children get their self-esteem first from us, especially in the early stages of their lives where we still have a lot of influence over them. The truth of the matter is that as parents, as children grow older, our influence over them reduces. That's the truth. That's why you have to be very, very careful about those first few years. By the time they become teenagers, they want to listen to someone else. By the time they're adults, how many of us still, you know, listen to our parents or, you know, follow their instructions? We are adults. So, you know, the influence reduces as children grow. So that's why those first few years, we need to soak them in our values and, you know, let them know who they are. You know, when my child tells me, so is doing this and I want to do it, you know, and I'm like, I can't afford it, right? Let them know what it is and let them know that someone is doing it does not mean you have to do it. Even at times for us as parents, we make decisions for our children just based on somebody else is doing it. You know, this person has sent our child to Canada, I'm going to send mine to. You know, that's why I said it starts with a vision. It starts with a vision. It starts with a vision. What kind of family are you building? What kind of adults are you raising? You know, because that child is going to become an adult. His friends will go on vacation. Maybe he can't afford it. We don't want him to go and start borrowing and start struggling because that's where his self-esteem is tied to. So we're going to start with them as children to let them know that you don't have to do what everybody is doing. To let them understand their uniqueness, to let them understand that, you know, all those activities are not what defines them. So I think the real job is on you as the parents. What are you going to be feeding them with? What kind of values are you raising them with? Let them understand what your values are. Let them understand what your values are, that, you know, this is they know the reason why you are not sending them to the swimming stuff at this time. And, you know, the conversations you have with them and continue to have with them will determine whether they are going to feel intimidated by that or not. And that's the truth, you know. And then, you know, because giving them a healthy self-esteem is your responsibility, and let them know that, you know, they are not defined by things, right? They are not defined by what other people are doing or by what other people have. Having that conversations consistently with them. And if you see that, oh, this is something that they really want to do, you can tell them, okay, why don't we work towards this, right? Why don't you know what, your daddy and I will start saving towards it. And then if it's really something you really want to do, guess what? That child that is, you know, all about this swimming thing in the next 1 or 2 years may not even be interested in it anymore. So, you know, that's why you can't afford to, you know, to be running that race, you know, of trying to keep up with the Joneses. And they need to understand that that's the value we want to give to them. So when they grow up in the future and maybe they can't afford what other people are doing, it won't affect their self-esteem. So it's going to start, this is a very good learning opportunity. It's a very good teaching opportunity for you to pump, you know, the positive self-esteem into them and let them know that they are not defined by what they have or what, you know, other people are doing. To be unique on their own. I always tell my children, you are the leader. You can't be doing bad things because everybody is doing it. Or you can't be following people because everybody's going that way. You have to be, and it starts from when they are little. Keep on having those conversations with them. Keep on having those conversations with them and ask them questions. Understand what's going on in their hearts. Don't take it for granted, because if it's affecting them, you need to know. If it's beginning to affect their self-esteem, you need to know. that's a very dangerous thing that can, turn into something else in the future. So you may want to start having that conversation with them just to be sure where their heart is. And if you find out that their heart is not in the right place, you need to redirect it. You need to, keep on having those conversations with them to let them know that, that doesn't define you. You're still the unique person that you are, and, you're good. You have great talents and abilities. You will still do great things and all that. And you have to be the one to provide that support to them. There are times that intentionally, I don't even give my children, what every other person is doing, because they must not have it, right? Because at times children will be like, this person, you must also have it. No, I need them to be able to be strong on their own, that even if I don't have what other people have, it does not affect, who I am. I'm still the unique person that I am. So I think the responsibility really lies in you to have, those conversations with them. Did I answer that question?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Faye. Okay, so we can, we have some questions in the chat box.
Yes. So can I read the one that was sent to me privately?
Someone. Hello.
Ediri, your audio is
okay.
Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so there's a question there. Can one be a hybrid of parenting styles? And which of the styles would you ordinarily recommend?
Yes, you can be. There are times that you are the permissive parents. Maybe you are tired, or you're just saying yes to everything, and you're not present. And there are times that you are the authoritative one. So you can actually have a mix, but I believe that the most effective one is the authoritative parent, right? That's not the authoritarian. The authoritarian is the one who gives rules without explanations, justice without mercy. No, that's not the kind of parents that we want. We want the authoritative parents that knows how to, brand both the carrot and the stick, right? You know when to embrace, you know when to be firm, and put your feet down and say, no, that is unacceptable in this family. You know how to give rules, you know how to guide your children, because it's really about our job as parents is to nurture and to guide. So, you're not neglecting that, and, you're giving them their limits. They know the rules, they know the rules and they know the consequences that come with it, right? So, even when you're enforcing the consequences, they know you're doing it out of love, because you're having meaningful conversations with them, meaningful connection with them, to let them know, okay, this is why, we go to bed at 8 o'clock. This is why, I've seen parents who their kids are still up at midnight. And like, I will tell him to go to bed, he will cry. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Have you ever heard where crying killed a child, right? Or you heard that this child, he cried and cried and cried and died? No, they will push back. It's natural. Even us adults, we push back. We don't like rules, but it's our responsibility to help them. So don't see it as, I don't want to upset my child. See it as, this child is going to be somebody's wife in the future. This child is going to be somebody's boss. He may be the head of a country. This child may end up, being the president tomorrow. You want to be sure that you've done your best and you've helped that child, you've equipped them with the life skills that they need to be strong and responsible adults in the future. Yeah.
Whoa, when you when your session was on, I was just getting a lot of feedback from participants that our guest speaker is on fire, as in we're touching those points. Thank you so much. So I think this other question is a follow-up.
I have one that was sent to me privately. Do you want me to start first? Okay. It says, is it too late to start the consistency in discipline and sanctions? I haven't quite been in discipline, and 2 are teenagers now. It's never too late to start. It's never too late to start. Like I said, for us as parents, consistency is one thing we struggle with. You may come one day and say, oh, now everybody will be reading books every day. Maybe you do it for 3 days, and children, they are very smart. So next time you come with one of your other, they won't take you serious. They will fight back. So, you know, that's one thing you have to do for yourself as a parent, to just be consistent. So since your children are already teenagers, you need to have a meaningful conversation with them, you know, to let them know that, look, this is what's going to be happening going forward. If you will start to, actions have consequences. Actions have consequences. When you make your choice, then you have to live by the consequences that come to it. And I'm going to be very serious about this, and make sure that you're serious about it, right? Make sure that it's not just you know, an empty promise. Just you explain to them why they need it, why they need the discipline. You know, let them know that it's going to help them become better people in the future. Let them know that they need it to be responsible adults in the nearest future, and that you are there to guide them and to help them become better people. So don't do it as now, you know, I will need to begin to enforce my authority in this house. You're not going to do that. That's the authoritarian parents, right? We don't want to be that, because guess what? They're already teenagers. They're just like, okay, let her keep on shouting. In the next 2-3 years, I'm out of this house, and I can do whatever I like. We don't want that. We want them to know why we are telling them, don't be greedy. As in, when you wake up, make your bed. When it's time to go to bed, have a good night rest so you can have a more productive day. Don't be 24 hours on your phone. You know, it's not, as in, we're not doing it by force, right? Now we're having meaningful conversations, and we're letting them know why. Even God, when he gives us rules, he tells us why, right? He says, come, let's reason together. He gives us opportunity to ask questions. So, you know, that's a parenting style that I believe, you know, would work well for everybody. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think you have touched on this question a bit. Someone was asking that, is it possible to stick to only one parenting style, or can you switch at different times depending on the situation?
I think the best parenting style is the authoritative parent, because the authoritative parent is firm and is nurturing at the same time, as in is loving and is, enforces discipline at the same time. So I think that's the easiest balance for you as a parent. You know, when your child is doing something wrong, don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. Correct them in love, right? Because they are going to face the consequences of their actions if they are not properly guided. So you are not being nice by not correcting them. Do you understand? You just have to, and you know, the personality styles that I shared, the DISC, it applies to us parents as well. For instance, I'm a high S personality. The S personality is a people-pleasing personality. I know a lot of times when you hear people-pleasing, you're like, that's bad. No, it's just the personality that wants everybody to be happy. Right? But then you know that you can, as you grow, as you mature, as you develop, you find out that you can't make everybody happy, right? If you are not Nigerian jollof, like they say, you can't make everybody happy. And then when it comes to raising children, saying yes to everything is not going to help them. So, you know, even if it's your personality, you are just a peaceful, loving, nurturing person, you have to know when to stop, have to know when to put the balance there and say, you know what? You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. You know, when your child asks for something, my children, I tell them no TV, there are times that no TV during the week, right? You watch TV during the weekend. And, there are times that they are like negotiating, mommy, please. And my daughter will say, please. And she would do all the tantrums and all that. I'm like, no. In my mind, I would have softened up, like, maybe they should have it, but I'm like, no, I'm not helping them. I'm not helping them by doing that. So you just have to be firm, and they know that you love them, and you have conversations. Mommy, why can't we watch TV? Because I tell them watching too much TV is not good for you. It affects your focus. As in, and I tell them, okay, read a book. I don't like to read. Okay, why don't you like to read? Reading is boring. Oh, okay. So that's how you feel about reading. Why don't we try one book first? And that's where I reward my kids. I tell them, if you read every day, Monday to Friday, I give you $5. At the end of the way, really, mommy, yes, I will. That's a good motivation, because I'm trying to build a habit in them. Do you understand? So whatever it takes to help nurture them and to help them, please do it. Don't switch. Don't switch. As in, just be that firm, affirmative parent who just, keeps on nurturing your children. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Do we have more questions? Please, if you have any question, you can indicate. with a hand raise or unmute your mic, speak, or drop your question in the chat. There's one part I really love so much that says no is a complete sentence. No is a complete sentence. I love that. So Tosin, please go ahead. You can unmute your mic.
Okay, thank you. I just want to ask based on our last statement about our kid. I have a 6-year-old boy too, who I'm beginning to get worried over him because he also tells me reading is boring. He doesn't like to read, doesn't like to write. All he wants to watch is, he has a favorite TV show that he likes to watch. He likes to watch Paw Patrol and one other show that I can't remember now. So all he can watch TV from morning till night if you permit him. So I'm getting worried. I really don't know how to make him like reading.
So I like that you shared that. That your son may probably be an I personality. An I personality child, if you don't understand them, they can wear you out because they want to play all the time. As in, I have a high son who just wants to play all the time. And I console myself because John Maxwell, I don't know if you're familiar with, he said, I've heard him say that was him as a child. He just wanted to play all the time. So, I know that they have strengths as well. So I'm going to focus on enhancing his strength while I'm helping his weakness. I know he does not like to work. He does not like to read. He does not like to write. Meanwhile, this boy is smart. So that's what I started. So when I say pick a book, and he's like, no, mommy, I don't want to read. You have to read. And then we negotiate that, okay, if you read for maybe, and then a 6-year-old child, you're not going to tell him to read for 1 hour, right? You're going to tell him, okay, like read like the Danny book that I said, read a story. A story is maybe like 5 pages. That would take him maybe like 10 minutes. And I find out that he would sit there, he will concentrate, and he will read it. And then that's it. I won't tell him read for 30 minutes or read for 1 hour. We'll both frustrate with each other, right? So I tell him read for 10 minutes. And if you get to read for 10 minutes, then I tell him, okay, come and give me a summary of what you read. And when he gives me that summary, I said, okay, so now go and watch TV for 30 minutes. So tomorrow again, I said, reading time. So after a while, because you want to help them, reading helps them. Screen time, has its place, but it's not good for them to be on the screen all the time. Because what I found out that my son, you call him, and that I've seen that with so many kids, he'll be walking from his back because he doesn't want to take his eyes away from the TV. So, when you see things like that, it doesn't bother me anymore because I know that that's just a child for you, and that's his personality. And my job is to help him. And I told him, okay, do you want to play some sports? Because they're like just sitting down all the time. Do you want to play? What sport do you like? Baseball. I'm like, okay, baseball helps with focus, right? Because when you're playing baseball, you have to be focused. As in, that's one game. And I know that I'm trying to achieve focus. One life skill that I'm trying to give to him. So I'm like, okay, let's start playing baseball and let's help this focus. Initially it was tough, but gradually it became better. So I think if there's one thing that we should all take away from today is the consistency. The consistency. If you need to pray for God to help you, pray. Because there are times that I just want to lie down and give all of them my part. Right? Because that's the easy way out. Just go and watch whatever you like. But I know that no, that's not the goal. There is a goal here and we need to stick with it. So, for your child, look for simple books and make sure the books have so much color. So much color. If there is a coloring part to it, it's good. So at times tell him, okay, read a bit, then color. I'm just trying to, whatever it takes to get their attention. So don't say read for 30 minutes, start with 10 and just do it consistently. And then if he says he's not, don't get alarmed and don't get worried. It's just being a child that he is, but you can help him by putting all those little things in place. Yeah.
Thank you.
I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. Before I call on the next participant, I can see in the chat box, everyone wants the recording. Yes, we need to listen to this over and over again. Just to assure everyone that the replay will be made available after the session. We'll send it to everyone. Okpe, Olua, please go ahead.
Okay,
Okpe,
thank you. Good afternoon, Ma. Thank you so much. Your session has been so awesome. Okay, so my question is, I have 2 daughters and they're similar in age. Okay, but for me, the way I parent them, I allow them to do things based on how responsible they are, but not based on their age. Like, for example, okay, I have an older daughter. My older daughter, I actually bought her, I dad got her a laptop, but she spoilt it. And the same, my younger daughter has now gotten to the age where we bought the older one a laptop as well, which means that we have to also get her one. And so she was expecting that we should also get another one for her, you know. And then for me, I was like, you don't take care of your gadgets very well. And so we cannot keep on getting things for you if you do not take care of it. But we intend to get for the younger one because she happens to be very diligent and takes good care of her gadgets. So for me, generally, I mean, it applies to everything, even chores. I do things based on what they can handle or how responsible they are with those things rather than basing it on age. Okay, and so sometimes it now causes this issue of, mommy, you're not being fair. Why does this person have to do this, or why does this person have to get this thing when I cannot? Okay, and I try to explain to them that it's not based on your age or who is older, but who can handle certain things, you know, part-time. So my question now is it right for me to keep on parenting them that way? And secondly, if yes, how do I go about it that it wouldn't affect, you know, their self-esteem or feel like your mommy is being too nice or too fair, you know, to one person more than the other? Because they seem not to understand the dynamic. I keep on trying to explain to them, but they seem not to understand the dynamics of what I'm trying to do. That, okay, if you show me that you can take care of things or you are being responsible, then I can also entrust you, you know, with more things.
Okay. Thank you. That's a very, very good question. The truth of the matter is that what you're doing right now, and you're saying they're telling you it's not fair, that's the kind of results you're going to get from that, right? And if you're not careful, you know, they can start, you know, one can start because they feel that you love one person more than the other. You know, that's how that is looking right now. Maybe in your heart you don't. You know, someone has asked me before that if you love one child more than the other, what do you do as a parent? And I tell them the simple answer: don't show it. It's natural for you, you know, it's possible that you will like one child, maybe because that child has some qualities that you like. Don't ever show it. And don't ever say, why can't you be like your sister? Your sister takes care of her gadgets. Why can't you do that? No, that's not going to help them. You know, I see 40-year-olds tell me, you know, my mom, you know, she loved my sister, you know, more than, as in they still remember, it's still affecting them. You know, so when you have, the truth of the matter is that those children have different personalities. I'm sure your first daughter has her strengths as well. So, but you know, because, yes, but probably it does. So, but probably you like what your younger daughter is doing more, right? The truth of the matter is that don't ever show it, and don't ever use one child, you know, in reference to speaking to another child. You know, I tell parents that when you see that maybe a particular child of yours is doing something that you like, instead of saying, why can't you all be doing what Mary is doing? Just say, you know what, maybe Mary loves to give. Why don't you start telling them about giving? Don't tie it to Mary. We already know Mary is doing it, right? But you know what? Giving is a very good thing. What can we do to help other people? Should we start giving out some of our clothes or some of our toys and something? And you are teaching all of them. But you already know Mary is doing it. Maybe the other people don't have that kind of personality. It doesn't come to them naturally. They need to learn it. So, you know, for what I'll say to you is that for your older daughter, I'm sure she has her strength. She has her personality. You need to have a conversation with her that, you know what, I need you to take good care of your gadgets. When I buy you a laptop, I tell my children, when I buy you this, I bought it with money, right? You see me sitting in front of my computer, I'm working. I work before they give me money. And when I get that money and I use it to buy something for you because I love you, I need you to take care of it. And I let them know that some children are not even this fortunate. There are people, you know, we need to expose them to that part of the world as well, to let them know that, you know, it's to build gratitude in them so that they don't become entitled. So what I'll say to you is that have a conversation with your older child and let her know that, you know what, I need you to take care of your gadgets when I buy them. Don't say your sister does it, or don't say, you know, I'm buying, no, you know, and, you know, just deal with each child individually. You need to be able to nurture each child individually. That child has her strengths too. Help us, you know, encourage those strengths and help us strengthen our weaknesses. The same for your younger daughter as well. But don't ever compare them and don't ever let them see that you like what one particular child is doing more than, you know, than the others. You don't want them to ever be able to answer the question, who does mommy love the most? They must never be able to answer it. Everybody must always think it's me, right? It's me. you know, because each individual is unique, each individual, and there is nothing wrong with anybody's personality. There's nothing wrong with anybody's personality. Maybe your older sister is probably an high-wired child. You need to know what she likes to do and, you know, help her manage that weakness. Help her, let me take back that, not manage, but strengthen that weakness. So maybe you would say, okay, we're going to get a case. When you want to use your laptop, you put it here. Don't ever remove it from here. Let's start from there. So you're going to help that child. So instead of just abandoning her with her weakness and saying, okay, because you don't get it and she needs a laptop, you need to help her, you know, take better care of whatever it is that you give to her. Maybe not just laptop. So whatever it is you see one child doing that you like, and it's making you have the tendency of maybe preferring that child over the siblings. Instead of doing that, just take that thing that child is doing or that quality and share it with everybody and say, you know what, I like this thing. Let's all start to be kind to one another. Maybe you notice that one of your children is very kind. He's the one that asks, Mommy, are you okay? And all that. Meanwhile, the others are not asking. There is a tendency to be more drawn to that child. But instead of doing that, let everybody know that that's what you want and that's what your expectations are for them. And you know, that would help. And someone asked about sibling rivalry.
Yeah.
These are some of the things you need to be doing to avoid it. Don't compare them. Don't treat anyone better than the other. They all have weaknesses. Encourage everybody's strengths, encourage everybody's, you know, strengthen everybody's weaknesses, but don't let anybody ever feel that they are better than the other person. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Fair. Okay, before I call on Priscilla,
Did I answer that question? I wanted to.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much, Ma. Yes, you did.
Okay. Thank you. Priscilla, please just hold a bit. Before I call on you, I just want to go into the chat box. There's a question there that's been hanging. I tried to say no TV during the week too, but I realized they spend more time with their iPads. What more can they be introduced to just so the reading and other activities don't become a routine and eventually boring?
Very good question. And that's why I said earlier that, you know, especially for children, you can't say read for 1 hour. They won't, right? They would become frustrated. So, you know, it has to be a mix of both, you know, and you have to find out what works for you and what works, you know, what's good for them. What's good for them. So if you're saying, oh, okay, we're going to read for 10 minutes every day, and you're like, what am I going to do for the remaining 4 hours before bedtime? You know, encourage conversations, encourage them to play with stuff, as in maybe toys or something if they are at that age, not for older kids, definitely. But then encourage them to talk to one another, you know, their siblings, to play together. If there's any other activity, maybe art. You know, I found out that there was a time I was like, you know, I wasn't even giving my kids TV at all. And I just went, you know, to the store and bought so many painting, you know, art stuff and all that. You won't believe it, but that was when I realized how artistic all my children, all of them, as in they have exceptional art, you know, artistic abilities. But you know that, so you just have to keep exploring, and then conversations with them. What do they like? I know they will say TV, iPad. That's what they like all the time. But you know, when they let them know that, you know what, we have to put a balance to it. The reason why I don't want to watch an iPad all the time is that it affects the way you focus. It's not good for you to be on the screen all the time. So let's find other things to do. You'll be surprised that there are so many other things that you can do. You know, there are so many other activities. If you're in a place where you can exercise or you can walk, you can try that. You know, it's something that you just have to find out what's one thing that we all like to do and then start doing it together as a family, you know. But like I said, you will not be able to cut out TV completely. Maybe it's okay, you know what, if you read for 10 minutes, you can watch TV for 30 minutes, or then we can do an art. Okay, let's paint something, let's color. Let's do this. You know, you just want to make sure that you are not making them redundant by just sitting in front of the TV all the time. So, you know, that's something that you just have to keep on exploring. We can start to jump, do jumping rope. You know, we can say, okay, let's dance. You know, anything. But the truth is that you're building a relationship and you're helping them put some balance into it. Because I see teenagers that they're even walking, they can't take their eyes off their phone, as in it's that bad, as in, and that's something that didn't just happen. It's just something that, you know, we neglected it when we saw it, and now it's become a monster. So, you know, you just have to try and find that balance. It may be you just reading to them. I do that at times. You know, I'm like, okay, listen, I will be the one to read, and I just read, and they start asking questions, and this conversation can go for the next 30 minutes. So, you know, you just have to, it's just being able to find that time, you know, and that presence to be able to do all that. Yeah. So did I answer that question?
Yeah, I think so. It was in the chat box. Thank you so much. Priscilla, please go ahead, unmute and ask your question. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for granting me the opportunity. I'm actually impressed. I'm getting all this knowledge for free. I'm grateful to the speaker and the organizers. Thank you so much. I was going to ask a question about siblings rivalry, but she touched a little on it. She touched much on it. However, another challenge I'm really having, it's for my kids. I have 2 girls. One is almost 7 and the other one just clocked 5. The older one is actually outgoing and very confident. She mixes up very well wherever she finds herself. But when we have friends over or they are out, she finds it easier to mix up, while the younger one feels left out. Like, okay, my sister is playing with other people. She doesn't want to play with me. And sometimes she gets withdrawn and starts crying and all. I try to talk to the sister to carry her sister along and all that. I would need more insight on how to handle it properly, please.
Okay, thank you. That's a very good question. Thank you, Priscilla. The truth of the matter is that both girls have different personalities, right? Your first girl is probably, you know, the outgoing, inspiring, friendly, fun-loving type, and then your second daughter is probably more of, you know, the withdrawn type, maybe they're an S or a C or something. And one thing I always like to tell children is that whatever personality type you have, you don't feel bad about it and don't apologize for it. You know, and also for the parent as well, you don't have to wish that, you know, the child was someone else, as in they're just perfect the way they are. And so what I would say is that to also encourage your younger daughter to reach out, because you don't want her growing up like that, not being able to the skills, the life skills that you're looking for now is social skills, right? You need her to be able to start developing social skills. So what you will do is just to keep on encouraging her, because our sister can't always carry her, right? She needs to be able to, you know, for now it's good if your sister holds her and all that, you know, and trust me, most of the time our sister will get carried away and won't even remember to hold her, because that's just her personality, and you don't want that burden on her. She will start feeling responsible that I have to help my sister. My sister can't do this by herself. There is nothing wrong with your younger sister. It's just that mixing social skills don't come naturally to her as they come to her older sister. So she needs to learn it. She needs to be able to develop it. So, you know, my younger son was like that, as in he's the one that will go to somebody's house and he won't greet the person. Or we'll go somewhere, and he'll be saying and he would refuse, you know. But I would ask him, why don't you like greeting people? You know, I won't just be shout, because it can be very embarrassing or even, you know, frustrating. Now, what is this? Why can't we just say hello to people? Why can't you? So, you know, instead of doing that, okay, is there a reason why you don't like greeting people? And you say, I'm shy. And then he told me that, he said, I'm shy. I'm like, okay, you know what? Being shy is not very good. It doesn't help everybody. God created every one of us for relationship. Nobody can survive on their own. We all need friends. We all need people. So you know what? When we go there and I say, okay, greet this person, just greet the person. He's not going to do anything to you. Now he has changed completely. Do you understand? So she just needs help. She just needs help, and just make sure you're not comparing her with her sister or making her feel that just because the social skills don't come naturally to her, it doesn't make her less it doesn't make her less than her sister. You know, it's just the kind of personality that she has. She needs help with. You have to be more intentional about social skills. I'm sure your older daughter will also have things that you have to be more intentional about teaching her as well. So it's just like that for every child, just as it is for even us adults, for every human being. We all have our areas of strength, and we all have our areas where we need, you know, more growth and more help. So what I would say to you is that please just work on your younger daughter and just encourage her, but don't put the burden like it's the responsibility of her sister to, you know. You can encourage her sister when you're going, hold your sister, right? But then encourage the younger one as well to be more outgoing and to talk. She will never ever be like her sister. And don't worry about that. You know, you just want to be sure that she at least has basic social skills. That's just and you don't want her withdrawing, you know, and because I'm saying, she's probably an S personality, and she will probably overthink things, you know, because for her to be crying and feeling that she's probably overthinking it, even at that young age. So you want to make sure that you don't let her go to that point. Just that, you know what, there's nothing. It's okay. It's okay if you don't want to greet someone, but you know, it's good to do that. You want to do that. And then just encourage her. Say hello to Lucy. Say hello. You know, you just have to, she needs extra work. And that's just what it is. There's nothing absolutely wrong with that. But we want to make sure that she doesn't get to that point where she's keeping things in her heart and she's overthinking the situation. I hope I answered that question.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much. I'm really grateful.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There is another hand up, but before I call on Richard, I just want to let everyone know again that the sends to everyone so we can listen over and over again. And I've also dropped the link to our YouTube channel in the chat box. Please, we have you can also visit our channel as well to listen to previous sessions. Some of these sessions are linked. Thank you. Richard, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, madam. I really appreciated all you've said. God bless you. I'm really blessed today, even though I joined a bit late, but from what I've had so far, it's really enriching, and it has given me a deep insight into some of the challenges I face with my daughters. I have two daughters, so but you've actually answered most of the questions I would say I would have loved to ask. But one more thing I would like to push across, and that is I have a daughter. Most times she leaves her room scattered, and it gives me a lot of concerns. Most times when I have to call, I have to scold her. Why leave your room, your clothes scattered? And she does it not just once, twice, always. And I have a challenge really calling, and I keep on wondering, why is it? Is there anything that is wrong? Or is there anything I'm not addressing? Why does she leave her room sometimes scattered, and I have to call her, scold her before she goes and gets things in order? So is there any other way I can really push that across to make it a consistent behavior on her own part? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that question. You know, it's just I'm sure she loves to play a lot, and she loves to, that's just her personality, and that's a weakness that comes with that personality. So you just need to have a conversation with her, and then you need to have consequences. There has to be consequences for her actions. And when you let her know what the consequences are, you have to be consistent with it. You know, so you need to have a conversation with her. There are times I even ask my son, if you don't do it, what should I do? And he tells me that, oh, okay, I won't watch TV, or you take my game from me. I said, okay, that's what we're going to do if you're not going to do that. So I think you need to have a conversation with her, but don't be worried or anxious about her. As in, you know, that's just the weakness that comes with her personality. I'm sure she has so many other strengths that you can encourage. I know, and that's one thing I want to encourage every one of us, especially if you're having a challenge with a particular weakness your child has. Try and identify at least two of their strengths, and you know, from time to time, I like the way you speak kindly to your brother and your sister, or you know, I like the way you let them affirm them, so that it's not just saying what they are doing wrong all the time, because at times they start to rebel. They see it as their own way of protecting themselves. So you want to also be careful to say to them and appreciate them for what they do right, but then tell them, you know what, this you're making your room untidy and keeping it untidy, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing, and you need to change. I need you to, you know, make your bed when you wake up and arrange your room, and when you don't do it, this is what is going to happen. And when she does that, make sure that you follow through, because it will not be effective if you don't follow through. Make sure you follow through. Maybe say, I'm going to take your phone for 2 days. If I come to your room and this room is scattered, and you come to our room is scattered, you actually take that phone for 2 days. Trust me, the next time it may take time, but she will get it. You know, children just need to know that their choices have consequences. When you wake up in the morning, you have two choices: to make your bed or not to make it. Whatever choice you make will come with its consequences. So she just needs to understand that. And it applies to so many other issues in life. And when you make the wrong choice, there are consequences that follow, and just follow through with it. Yeah.
All right, thank you, madam.
So that you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Ife. Adeola, please go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for this session. I truly enjoyed it. I have two questions actually. So I have a 9-year-old that is she's an extrovert, more like me, very outgoing, very, but I observe that, and she has 2 brothers. She's the first. But I observe that when it now comes to her maybe interacting with her peers, it's like she's closed up, she's shy. And for some funny reasons, it just gets me kind of irritated. I'm like, is this not the same you that you're always outgoing? So what is happening to that child? That's number one. I have the second question is, when she talked about, as parents, you want your children to be everything, like you're trying this, you're trying that. I just want to get a bit more clarity, because for me, I'm conscious of the fact that we are now moving in a world where, your skills matter. And the mindset of me trying to get my child involved in different things, from coding to French school to this to music, is for me to be able to identify exactly what she can be good at. And I feel so, when you feel that inadequacy as a parent, because I don't want a child that will grow up and just cannot really do anything. And I use my own to judge. Like, I can't ride a bicycle, I can't swim, I can't do music, so I'm like, no, I don't want a child that doesn't have at least some skills that can be useful for you, as you grow up, because we are noticing what is going on. There's coding that they can get involved in. I just don't want them to go through, what we have to go through to survive. But if a child can learn a skill and be good at it, so I find myself testing different waters. Try this, try that, What would you advise, how that can be done? I don't know if you.
Yes, I understand you. Thank you for that question. Yeah. So to your first question, your child is outgoing and all that, and then when it comes to relating with her peers, she pulls back. I think there's more to that. There's something going on in her heart that you need to find out. And what I would say is, you need to have a conversation with her and just ask her simply that, now I notice you do this. Why? Not in an irritated or judgmental or, aggressive way, but just like with concern that, I'm trying to get to the bottom of this and find out. You'll be surprised what may be going on, in her heart. She may, as outgoing and, everything you think she has, she may have some self-esteem issues that she's dealing with. There may be some limiting beliefs that she has. There may be some negative self-talk that she's been telling herself. Maybe she's been telling herself, I'm not this, I'm not that cool, or I'm not as cool as these people, or I'm not up to that. And they could be different things. So what I would say is that you need to have a conversation with that child to know what is really going on. Don't just judge by the outward appearance. Let's know why. What is between, behind those actions? Why does she pull back? Why does she pull back? Does she feel some sense of insecurity or low self-esteem or anything? Or is there a fear? Is there something she's afraid of? Is there something that has happened to her, maybe in interacting with her friends in the past, that is probably affecting her? So what I would say is to instead of being irritated by it, we need to find out what's happening. We need to find out what's going on. So I would encourage a conversation with her in a gentle way, in a warm and embracing way, not like you're judging her. Why would you be doing that? No, like, I just noticed this, what's happening, what's going on, and you may really want to find out why. And then, for the overparenting, putting your child in everything, what I'll say to you is that, when you understand your child and you understand what the child's uniqueness and personalities are, the first step is to discover your child's uniqueness. And you will only be able to achieve that by paying attention. Because if you keep trying, it's not a good model for the child, right? You don't want that child to grow up trying everything before it finds out, the right one. We as adults, many of us suffer that, do this, do that, before you now finally land in the right place. So what I would say is that the first step is to discover your child's bent, discover that child's uniqueness, observe, as he's talking, as she's relating with people, you need to be observant. You need to pay attention and see, what does this child like to do? What lifts her spirit up? What does she do that makes her light up? You know, when you discover what that child's uniqueness is, then you'll be able to start to find activities that would help, you know, enhance those uniqueness and, you know, those qualities that that child has. You know, because, you know, the truth of the matter is that, you know, every child comes with their own uniqueness, and they have their own purpose. They have their own purpose, and we don't want them to be confused about that. You know, there's nothing wrong in learning a skill, or, you know, learning how to play a musical instrument or doing that. But you don't, and, you know, I can see where that is coming from. It's coming from a place of anxiety, just as you said. It's coming from a place of anxiety. So, you know, that's not a good place to come from. You know, those are the things I spoke about when I was talking about overparenting. It comes from a place of worry, a place of anxiety that I want this child, and, you know, it comes from a place of inadequacy, feeling of inadequacy for us as parents. And that's why, I don't know if you were here at the beginning, that's why when I said, you know, there are no perfect parents, and then don't get into that trap of guilt or worry about your child. God has given every parent the grace to parent their child. God has given every parent the grace they need to parent that unique child that he has given to you. So I want you to leave that place of anxiety, leave that place of worry, and get into a place of rest where you are able to pay attention to your child and understand what that child's uniqueness is and how you're going to help that child maximize their potential and be everything that God has made them to be. So I hope I answered that question. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's very comforting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Ife. Do we have more questions from parents? Any more questions? Let me go through the chat box again. Okay, so I can't see any more questions here. I think we've covered everything. All right, once again, we will share the replay of this session. I've also dropped, I've posted our YouTube, the link to our YouTube channel in the chat box. You can visit us and subscribe, please. We'll have more sessions in subsequent months. I can see a lot of questions around personality of the children, understanding the personality of the children. I think we should have a session for that alone to teach parents how to understand and nurture the personality of our children. So please stay with us, and every month we hold those sessions on the last Saturday of every month at 2 p.m. We'll have another session on another very critical topic next month, October. Thank you so much, parents. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much, Ife. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had a very nice time, you know, sharing with you all. And, you know, my prayer for everyone is that you will continue to be the best versions of yourselves and help your children be the best versions of themselves too. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for all the questions too. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye, parents. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of the weekend. See you next month. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.